you talked about the downward spiral after the validation, and people think, because we see it in the movies, right, that with validation, they said that they were wrong. There's the accountability. They apologize unreservedly. So you were right. That's the moment of triumph, right? And that's where the movie normally ends. But in real life, that's not how it happens. And, once the fight doesn't have to be there, i.e. you've been so focused on that fight of getting the sleep reports, being able to understand, everything about that decision, and then you get validated, that is the time where the whole body can release and the mind releases and everything twists again and turns. And that is a time where you actually need much more support rather than less. And I think you described that so well, of that part of your journey and not being able to work. I mean, it's kind of like a full-time job that you ended up having to be your own advocate, right? But you still have to make money. You still have to do all the other things a functioning human being does, but you've got this heavy load and burden that's invisible to a lot of people, and you kept it all going. And I think that's tremendous tribute to you and who you are, and most likely to the support network. And I hope that you did have a good support network around you to be able to keep you straight in these very dark and very difficult, it's not even dark night of the soul, this is like a long-term enduring period of time, right, where you're having to find a new what's new for you in terms of your reality. You're having to find a way to exist in that new reality, being diagnosed with adjustment disorder. And by God, if you didn't have a sleep disorder before, now you do, right? Because of all these things running through your mind and having to disclose to people, it brings on all these other things that you would never have gone through if it hadn't have been for the CPS. Not necessarily the rape on its own, but that's horrific and traumatic. So I do just want to plant that flag. But then to have the system and people within it who are meant to make things better actually make it so dark and so difficult, I can only apologize, but you've shown such tremendous courage and mental fortitude. You really have.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah, it's just been such a process. But as you said, like I was really fortunate in the fact that I had solid support around me, and I don't think I would have got through any of it or even had the energy to keep on challenging without them. Like from my partner to my friends to my family, like even my work at points. There was challenges with them, but that's a whole other side of things. But generally, I think what was really important for me is just not keeping it all internalized, because a lot of people
Yes.
just get it, it's a bubble of their own. And if work didn't know about things and I was having an off day, I could at least say something and there'd be a little bit more understanding, and I could perhaps take my off to a little quieter room or something and just give myself a bit of time, and there was no kind of questions asked. But yeah, and I can't imagine like not having that kind of openness with everyone that was around me, because at least if I was having bad days, people would understand and get it. But yeah, I couldn't comprehend having to try and go through that without sharing the load, essentially.